Triplane has arrived. Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to start to build it. I want to start to build it. I'm not allowed to build it. Tra la 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 la. Just a quick peep inside, just to make sure everything's okay. Look at this. Oh, look at the size of it. Oh my goodness. Right. 16 deck. What size of that motor? This is one big machine. That's gorgeous. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pack this away. I'm going to keep that out because I want to drool over it. Drool, because this is a Christmas present. I shouldn't have opened it this thus far. Oh Lord, look at the size of that tailplane. I'll have to get a bigger car. This is huge. Oh Lord, above. Can't believe the size of that tailplane. Never going to get it out of the house. This is going to be a big build, literally, because I really want to enjoy this build, so I'm not going to rush it. You know me, I don't rush models. I've studied RC Geeks, Rob, and his mates built one, and I've studied his videos, 33 videos online. Lots of really useful stuff, because it means that I can then go ahead and build in roughly the same order that he's built. And that was the undercarriage wing, tailplane, fin, fuselage and wings. The machine guns alone, if I remember correctly, had over 100 parts. I've got some electronics with this kit. I'll study those later, see what exactly what they are. Great big propeller there. Lots of lovely wooden bits and bobs. I had the motor out the other day, hunking great motor, 650 kV 4220. I've watched all through Rob's videos, and I've made a note of what each part contains, so I can go to any particular video if I'm stuck on any particular part and find it very quickly. God, some carbon rods there, steel and carbon. That's heavy. That would give you a nasty headache. Wow, I can smell the balsa wood coming through the bag. Fantastic. Plywood parts, one look at it. That's the other thing Rob suggested, and it's a great idea. Some parts have got the numbers stamped on them, others haven't, so I'm going to transfer the part numbers to the components before they drop out, and I lift it now. Look, there we go. Let's take a seat, Cliff. Take a seat. What I've done is to just cut out all the parts that say T. T standing for tail, tailplane and rudder. So it's just a bit of polythene. Now I've got this lovely big pile of kindling. Kindling it is, kindling. That's what you start fires with. So Okay, let's start placing bits down. How exciting. T13. Obviously you don't glue the elevator to the tailplane. It's separate. Nice long bit. That would be T11, unless I'm very much mistaken. You are very much, yes, no, it is T11. T11 sits in there. If I line it up this end, it's a little bit out this end, so what I need to do is to get equal amount either side. I think what I'll need to do is dry assemble it all and juggle it into position and then work out what's what. Now there is something I'm going to do. I'm going to modify the fin quite a lot, sorry, the rudder I should say, fin stroke rudder, insofar as Rob found that when he assembled his, the rudder hinge interfered with the, it cracked, and there's a very small piece of wood here, fin joint, so he beefed it up with a slightly bigger piece of wood, which was a good thing to do. Won't force that in there. So I'll do the same on that when the time comes. I think that's all the components. I'm going to stop there, stop the film there, and I'm going to put this slowly together, sand in and fit in each part as I go, and come back to you. The main structure is down. Little bit of fettling here and there, no big deal. It's gone in pretty well. Two things to note here. One, as Rob pointed out on his video, and it could catch you out, before you glue this piece on here, round the leading edge, at least on this part, because you won't be able to get in there particularly easily to round it right up to the corner. Little file mucking around, yes, possible, but it's a good idea to round the leading edge of the elevator first. I used a piece of these little tiny bits of stuff off of the offcuts, these little thin bits. If anything's a little bit short, just a bit of glue on and just push it down between the gap. It just takes up any gap, fills the, instead of filling it with glue, you can fill it with wood and glue. Rob had a problem after he covered it with it splitting across here, so I'm going to put an extra fillet of wood in here, triangular of wood, just to sit in there to make sure that's not a weak spot. Okay, I've sanded the tailplane and it's come out very nicely. What I'm going to do now is, did I show you I fitted these little pieces of carbon tube in each wingtip, tail tip? This is for a nut and bolt to put on some triangular outriggers that go to the fuselage. Full size had it. It's not on the plan, but a little bit flexibility there. Rob, when he built his, found that it did need it a little bit, so I shall put them on anyway because they're a great scale feature. So that's what those holes are for. Excuse me. So something else Rob did was to use coffee stirrers. That one's got a bit of a, let's use another one. Use coffee stirrers to simulate, or emulate if you like, here we go, to emulate the ribs under the fabric. It works really nicely. So you stick those on there like that, and when you cover it, you've got a rib effect. You don't see structure. Not the end of the world. What I'm going to do, I don't like this blunt edge, so what I'm going to do is just take that off with my, when I say blunt, I'm talking about this face. So I'm just going to round that down. And you've got to do it now because you can't do it once it's stuck on, you just can't get in there. So that will go on there, and that will go on there. I'll just take it down just over the join there, add a little bit of strength. I'll cut one to go on there, and I'll cut one to go just up there. underneath, or this is underneath actually. Doesn't really need to be underneath as well, but do you know what, I'm going to put them underneath as well, because if it ends up on its nose, if I do a typical cliff landing, it ends up on its back, people will say, oh my lord, look at that, this tailplane's not got proper ribs in it. So I'm going to do that, so I'll stick on there like that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, actually I'm going to use a combination of glues. I'm going to use super glue in the middle and at each end, and just white glue in the middle. Like that. Bit of white there, bit of white there. Like that. That one on there. The reason I'm going to use two glues is because super glue will glue it instantly. I put a piece, a little bit in the middle, a little bit at each end. Okay, let that dry. Give a quick wipe, speed the process along. So there we are, that's held down. The white glue can dry at its convenience. Well, it's both sides done. 1, 2, 3, and the other side, and I'll put something around these bolt holes later on. I've also done the fin rudder. I've put 2 sticks on here and here. This is the scale rib positions. I put a couple of supports in there as well, just to stop them whipping about. So that's those two just about done. I'm not going to do the elevators. I've changed my mind on that, unless I change my mind again. So there we are, on to the next stage. Right guys, here we go. Yesterday's little bit of building is it's not a huge flying wing, it's the wing that fits between the undercarriage wheels. The ribs are actually 1/16 ply, light ply. Clever construction. There's 2 little main spars at the front which clip up and both sides of the main spar. Get my words out in a minute. Clip both sides of the ribs here and here. I think they kind of like missed a trick really. If they'd have made it a little bit deeper, you could have glued those together and made a really strong, well strong anyway, but just a bit stronger. Bit of ply along the bottom, carbon spar in the front, 4mm. The interesting thing with this was the undercarriage legs, which I think are these, fit in there like that. The original undercarriage wing, didn't have these ribs. This was a modification suggested by Rob at RC Model Geeks, because when you pull the bolts out to fit the struts, the spring which is on the bolts obviously just falls out and it's inside the wing. So he did this clever mod whereby you make a second rib, and he used carbon tube glued between these 2 points, so when you take the spar out, the screw out, the spring stays attached. The spring incidentally is where your undercarriage, I haven't done this, fits in underneath like that and provides springing up and down. Works very well. So you can slide the axle, which is that one there, in through all the slots, and the springs allow it to do that. Anyway, so that's that construction done. That took a little bit more work working that out, but it's come out well. So let's just unpin that and get it off the board and have a look at it. I might start the fuselage next. There's machine guns, the engine, dummy engine, the wheels all to make, but I want to crack on with the body. So I used white glue to assemble this. I glued this up with CA to get it all in, because obviously it was like one unit all flopping about. I just wanted to get it in. And then I ran white glue down over the joints this morning before I went to work, which is why there's all white glue hanging down. So I've just put plenty on. It's got to be a high stress area, hasn't it? So look at that. Look at that. Quite heavy with all the metal bits in, captive nuts on the inside. But I assembled it with the bolts in because everything has to line up really well, which it does. So there we are, there's another part made. I can sand it. I've sanded the tail feathers, wherever I've put them. Anyway, I'm going to sand that up. Oh, something I wanted to investigate. Was the back of this scalloped? If I look at my little model here, no, it wasn't. And if it's not scalloped on the micro races one, it won't be scalloped. A little detail which I haven't seen on any of the other triplanes kits, and that's the wingtip skids. I love these wingtip skids. I think they're great. They're spruce and they're sprung, and they obviously stop the wingtips from bashing on the ground, but it seems like a huge detail which has been left off. So I'm going to make a pair of these and build them into the bottom wing because I think that's a nice feature. Well, I put it there for inspiration. There's plans for the wings and tail, but there's no fuselage plan. So the fuselage, all the instructions are here. Stick part 1 to part 2, part 2 to part 3. It's all in order. So utilising that and also Rob's build video, I'm going to put mine together. So there we are. I'm going to stop here and clear the bench again and find all the bits for the fuselage. So in part 2 you'll see a bit of progress on that side of things. Can't wait. Thanks guys. Hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Cheers, cheers.